Hello, my loves. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to my page. I'm Ellie Frost, and for those that don't know, I'm a business strategist, healer, and coach for soul-driven entrepreneurs who are here to monetize their gifts, change the world, do awesome things, visionary leaders, changing the world, making a business and life about who they are and what they love, and monetizing that in big ways. So what I had found, right, with having multiple businesses, working with all sorts of people, all sorts of leaders, all sorts of companies, all sorts of clients, and what fascinated me was how some people could easily just jump into success and other people it took longer. And in my own journey, I had to look at some of my patterns and some of my ups and downs and what it was about. And what I found was trauma is the underlying factor in terms of whether or not we are going to be able to manifest, attract what we want, and what's going to get in our way of fully self-actualizing, being fully expressed, being fully able to monetize our gifts, our art, live on our own terms, right? It's the trauma patterns that block that. So I have spent, over the last 5 years really, a lot of time, I've always been a healer, I've always been a channel, I've got psychic gifts and I've got energy healing gifts and modalities that I've integrated and developed on my own, but I have really mastered how to release trauma. And people come into one session with me and patterns they've had for years shift, yeah? Trauma is not something you can think yourself out of, right? So we can be aware of our patterns of sabotage or codependency or our addictions, but we can know something isn't serving us, but you can't think your way out of trauma. When we release trauma patterns, the whole world opens up. Things that we couldn't, things that if we were doing what we thought were the right things, but they weren't paying off, nothing was yielding for us, it suddenly starts to work. Because the subconscious and the energetic field is no longer vibrating at the level of the trauma. This is not a conscious pattern, it's an unconscious pattern, and it's in our energy field, and I have a gift at releasing it in people. It's difficult as healers because there has been a stigma around us not being able, it's felt that we shouldn't charge for our gifts, right? Or people have a judgment on that. But I don't see that there's anything more important on the planet than people healing, and some of us are gifted at doing it, and we need to charge for it appropriately, because people come into my sessions and things that they've spent years in therapy not healing get shifted. That's extremely valuable. That's priceless. If someone comes to me and they have been trapped in certain cycles and not able to do what they do, it's priceless, in order to do it. Now, the thing is, most people don't realize that it's trauma in their way, unless they've got it at a severe level. I worked with veterans at one point because I was studying PTSD. I had PTSD myself. I thought I had anxiety. I thought lots of things, but what I didn't understand, and which I do now, is that underlying it, there was just trauma to be healed. And once trauma is healed, it clears lineage, right? So I teach people, and the truth is, trauma doesn't even have to be a significant event in this lifetime, right? We carry unconscious traumas in our lineage, in our DNA, a bit like we carry, our features down from our ancestors, how we look. We also carry unconscious programs, right? Karmic cycles, right? Unconscious ideas, concepts, belief systems in our subconscious, and it holds us back. So I became an expert. One, because I was already a healer. I already had great gifts on healing, psychic and channeling abilities. Two, I had an enormous amount of trauma to deal with in my own life. And I was studying why, because I'm a peak performance coach, why are some people not elevating in the way that they should be? Always the trauma patterns. So booking for a trauma release session, it's not a sexy thing to sort of talk about, I guess, and it's misunderstood in our society. What I do is very unique. It breaks years of what's been stuck. I also use my channel, so I intuit things and give you a conscious. I take your conscious, subconscious, and energy field along and shift your vibration, and you can't go back at that point. You've you've now unlocked something. A lot of my clients say, I know what happened to me, but it's like it happened to someone else, because the energetic charge is different, right? And when we have energetic, we're like kind of circuit boards, if you think about it. We are not just our bodies, we are a field of energy. And when we're vibrating at the level of trauma, we're also attracting it. And what the mind will do subconsciously is often put ourselves in similar situations over and over again, because the mind wants to resolve it on the level of the mind, but you can't solve it from there, which is why we get in what's called trauma bonds and trauma cycles, where we keep repeating patterns, right? Because the mind wants resolution. The subconscious mind thinks, if I get back in that situation, then I'm going to overcome it differently. But what happens is we get re-traumatized and stuck. So we want to break these patterns, break these cycles. And my sessions are very unique. I'm very gifted in it. It's not, I don't do a standard approach. I have a very unique approach in it. Hi, Sylvia. I'm talking about trauma release. I'm talking about that I have a very unique way of doing it with people, that it's something that I've developed and is very effective. People come to me for 1 or 2 sessions, and years of patterns that they've been stuck in are changed. Most of us don't know what the root cause is of our subconscious patterns. And even if we do, intellectually, you don't solve trauma on the level of the mind. So even if we do become aware, I had narcissistic parents, right? Then I attracted 2 very significant people in my life later on that were very narcissistic, right? So I know that intellectually. It didn't mean I could energetically break it until I understood how to release the trauma. So even knowledge, right? And that's why some therapies don't work, because people, when people come to me, sometimes they say to me, I've been in therapy for years about this. And I'm like, that's not working. People come in my world, 1 or 2 sessions, the whole thing changes and their life opens up, because when you remove these cycles, you're no longer an energetic match to the same patterns, right? And that's what's so beautiful. I'm seeing my people make such big changes in their lives after just 1 session. I've got a puppy here. Let's talk about Trauma Mouse. What do you think? But so, I don't believe there's anything more important if you are wanting to accelerate your results, if you are stuck in repeat patterns, if you've been in therapy talking about the same thing for years, it can re-traumatize you. And just intellectually knowing this doesn't change the pattern. So many of us are aware that we've got certain unhealthy patterns, but we can't break free, right? My sessions are extremely unique. They're doing something to your subconscious energy field. It's a gift that I've got. It is not the same as, it's hard to describe for me sometimes, because it's a unique modality that I've developed. But there's been years of my own trauma I've had to break, of working with people in it was a scary thing to put myself forward for, and that's why I sat with the veterans, because it's a very delicate issue, trauma. Some of the people I've worked with have been extremely traumatized, and so when you open yourself up to this kind of work, there's a big responsibility that comes with it. But I don't think there's anything more important to heal on the planet, because I'm all about self-expression and monetizing who you are and being able to just live the life you want. And the trauma patterns are what hold us back from that, right? And I care so much about soul-driven people on the planet being able to do that, being able to be who they came to be. And it's these cycles, it's these patterns we have to break in order to be in our fullest expression, receive the money for that we want, to change what goes on the planet. So contact me about trauma release sessions. It's not a sexy subject, and it's a very misunderstood subject. So part of my mission is to educate people, because I'm always looking for the hacks. I'm always looking to demystify the industry and what is it that gets in the way? What is the difference between someone that comes to me and makes millions of dollars straight away, and someone that takes a bit longer? Trauma patterns, which is why I had to become master at it, because there's no way just the strategy is the answer. It's the energetic being. Yeah, it's more than mindset. It is being able to, mindset work works depending on the level of trauma, depending on these cycles and patterns. It all is useful. But for example, if you use positive affirmations and you have like trauma, then you're just creating resistance. You know, I am rich when you've got a lot of money trauma. And by the way, trauma isn't everything. In my Money Magic program, which you can do self-study and buy on my website, that is all about healing relationship patterns, right? Why? Because most of us, there's an energetic thing with us and money, right? And most of our experience of money for a lot of people is resentment, right? And it also mirrors a lot of our relationship issues, right? So for many of us, we feel like money's let us down. We feel like it doesn't show up for us. It hasn't supported us. We've got a very like tricky energetic going on, which gets in the way of us being able to freely receive it. We also have our self-worth linked to money a lot of the time. So being paid for who you are, doing what you love, can be an issue for people. Some of my clients, you know, they've been very successful in maybe their careers, and when they go to monetize themselves differently, that can be a block, right? Because they could accept a lot of money if it was coming from another vehicle, but for their own business, for their own self-expression, for their own soul expression, it can be more tricky, right? So we have to clear that. This is part of what I do in Elevate You. Elevate You is about your business, your brand, your strategy, your marketing, your products, your services, everything you'll need to, if you're starting or scaling, go to the next level of your business and brand. But there's also deep energetic work, because being able to fully receive for who we are, yeah, not just what we do, but who we are, is a big block for people. We've all often gone through a lot of trauma in terms of being criticised, maybe being bullied, being rejected, right? So I lift all of that, so you get free to be in your full, hi Jax, in your full self-expression. Meanwhile, yeah. It's a very good course. So we're going to launch that next week, but it's not just the strategy, because the strategy alone will not make it work. We have to be the person energetically that's an energetic match to what we want, right? And coming into our own monetized self-expression requires trauma release. Hi. Oh, good. Oh, definitely be in touch. I'd love to have you. I swear to you, right, there is nothing like the work I do. I've done this work. I mean, I've been a consultant to some of the biggest brands on the planet. I care a lot about entrepreneurs being able to do this. You know, what my passion has been for 20 years, people being able to monetize who they are and what they love. I am so about it, and I'm such an expert in it because it's been my mission. For 20 years, I heard a statistic that people die at 10 a.m. in the Western world of a heart attack on a Monday morning, and I realised that was way more than just a bad diet issue. That was people going to jobs they hate, right? I know there's money and there's abundance when we align with this, but there's a lot of misleading things that people get into, and they sometimes don't believe they can do this. You can do this, and you can do it. I mean, I've worked with lots of celebrities. What do celebrities do, right? Singers, artists. I've worked with a lot of them, chefs. They monetize what they love. And I've seen it. And I've seen it over and over again for 20 years. There's nothing you could tell me, right? Although I'll listen to everything you want to say, that would convince me that you can't do this. You can, right? Things might not have worked for you. There's trauma to be healed often, and there's the aligned strategy for you. Yeah. So Elevate You is going to start next week. Contact me about it. Put everything you've been through. And it's not just for if it hasn't worked. It's if you really want to take it big. I take people to the top. I've been doing that for years, right? So whether you're starting or scaling, that process is really good. I've also got a one-on-one experience for people who have already got a level of success and really want to go for it at another level. So you can contact me about that too. Otherwise, I'm sending you a ton of love. Do not believe for a second you can't monetize your soul work on this planet. There is so much money in it. If you look at anyone famous, they're doing that, right? We've been programmed to believe that we can't, because some of the structures rely on us being in a kind of slavery, right? Because some industries rely on your unconsciousness. We're going to bust that on the planet. That our time is now. So contact me about that. I love you. Have a brilliant day.